Welcome to Dry Arabia! And today, spawning in the south corner of the map, playing in teal, we've got Crackedyhere as the English. And his opponent today in the north corner of the map in purple, we've got none other than kaup, playing as the Delhi Sultanate. Welcome everyone to this Age of Empires forecasted game on Hallow's Hearth, a fantastic new biome for Age of Empires 4, and it's Empire Wars, so things are slightly different. Both civilizations starting off with 23 villages. And well, it's an interesting matchup, the English versus the Delhi. But before we get there, take a look at this biome. I absolutely love it. It's absolutely, it's such a treat to watch. It's such a pleasure on the eyes. And, well, look at the trees. Definitely spooky. And not only that, you've got pumpkins on the sacred sites. But, well, speaking of sacred sites, that's something the Delhi Sultanate will look to try and capture as soon as they can. But let's talk about matchups and the game mode. So the interesting thing is that the English civilization starts off with 8 farms. I think this is a really strong civilization on Empire Wars, have to say, because they start off with a barracks and 8 farms, and they can really try and pack a punch with most civilizations by getting the early vanguard man-at-arms. And you can see one already heading across the map. I think there's already one on the way, camping out on the stealth forest. And the reason why I think the English are very strong is because, like, they have a lot of potential to be aggressive, but also play very conservative in terms of their expansions. Like, they have the very condensed economy. Everything is very nice, safe and secure, more or less, back at home at the base. And so they don't have to venture out. So even against aggro civilizations that they come across, which Delhi Sultanate can be one of them in the feudal age, you know, they're not worried. They don't have to go out onto the map. They don't have to get their, deer that's far out and exposed. Whereas the Delhi Sultanate, they kind of have to rely on berries, which, fortunately enough for kaup, is at the back of the base, which it would take some time for the English to get around there. But get around there they will, I'm sure. And, yeah, I mean, I think, for example, like the French, the HRE, going into venturing into the pocket economies is very tricky. So I think the English being able to pack a punch nice and early with some vanguard man-at-arms, just like Crackedyhere has done here, following up with the longbowman rush, no doubt. You can see the council hall already being built. I think the English are looking really strong on Empire Wars. But the Delhi Sultanate, opening up with the Tower of Victory, they have some options. And they have some capabilities, opening with a double archery range, mostly probably because it's going to struggle to get food, right? So if it's going to go for Ghazi Raiders, that would be very heavy on food. So I like this choice from kaup. Going to have to rely on the wood economy. Speaking of which, his wood is actually quite far forward, so that could fall prey to the longbowmen as they do head forward eventually. But the good thing for the Delhi Sultanate is gone up with the Tower of Victory, which grants them a 20% attack speed bonus on infantry. And that should be able to do quite a lot of damage against the longbows if he uses the movement speed of the archers. So when you compare archers to longbows, the archers do actually have a faster movement speed. They're a little bit cheaper, but of course they don't have that extra range that the longbowmen have. The good thing about the Delhi Sultanate, they do have these scholars that are going to hopefully just buy some time as much as possible, drag some fights away from the main army. Those man-at-arms, quite a few of them there for Crackedy, trying to harass the gold and doing a good job at that. Hasn't lost a single villager though, kaup. It's doing well on that front. The archer's going to push that back away, and it does have the 20% attack speed, so the man-at-arms do have to back away. There's no iron undermesh just yet for Crackedy. Although on Empire Wars, yeah, don't even start off with a barracks, blacksmith rather. Some civilizations do actually, interestingly enough. The French actually start off with a blacksmith, although I don't believe they get bloomery for free, which is an interesting one. They have to build another blacksmith to get that. But it is what it is. And it's a double blacksmith. So speaking about blacksmith, double blacksmith for the Delhi Sultanate because they get the upgrades for free. And so it's going to be queuing up those all-important blacksmith upgrades. Now, whilst the Tower of Victory does grant the infantry 20% attack speed bonuses, the English do have something similar with outposts. They can extend their network of castles bonus, but they do have to send a villager to get an outpost on the middle of the map. Whereas these guys, they're equipped with their bows firing 20% faster, which is very, very nice. But Crackedy has more than enough to deal with this, really. Like, the archer numbers aren't that great, but he's going to try and pick apart as many of the man-at-arms as he possibly can before Iron Undermesh comes in. But the man-at-arms are charging in. Going to tank a little bit with the scouts. Needs to back away, though. kaup is starting to focus fire on a couple of the weak man-at-arms. Does pick off 2, though. And this is looking good as an opening situation for kaup. But the issue now is that the longbowmen are starting to hit the field. Behind all this, though, good eco upgrades coming for both players, to be fair. Good thing for Crackedy, he's not stinged out on the eco upgrades. It's got wheelbarrow, horticulture, and double broadaxe. And of course the Delhi Sultanate, they just queue up everything anyway. Okay, this is where things become interesting because the longbowmen for Crackedy will need to focus on the archers. The archers try and focus fire on the man-at-arms. Picks up another one, which is actually a really good pick-off because Iron Undermesh is just about to come in for Crackedy. Now, behind all of this is just the one town centre play for Crackedy. I think the English are very versatile in this sort of game mode. They can often opt for more town centres. I think against the Delhi Sultanate, though, it's probably better to be aggressive, of course, because you really don't want Delhi to get onto that map. You don't want the scholars to come out and to get the sacred sites, get that passive gold generation. Here come the longbowmen to focus fire on the spearmen if they can. Actually, it's kind of interesting that he's added some spearmen. Maybe just a tank as a front line. And look at this, the archers for Kaup trying to focus on the longbowmen, but the rage is so strong because the man-at-arms, they can really gap close in the meantime. But this outpost, if it goes up for the English, that could spell a lot of trouble for Kaup. Alright, archers starting to focus on the weak longbowmen. 1 or 2 spearmen involved. Oh, the scholar gets taken, the imam gets taken down there from the Delhi Sultanate, which is not ideal. Here comes... Oh, that's a bit of a dive in. He's trying to push away that villager that's building the outpost. It's not a bad idea, but it does mean he focuses on getting that villager. And in the meantime, he got poked and prodded by the man-at-arms pretty badly. I think the villager probably will get the outpost now, which is actually a terrible situation for Kaup. He needs to try and find a solution for this problem. We'll lose a villager on that wood line. Hasn't lost a single villager just yet. Just lost the first one. And the longbowmen getting good ranged attacks on those archers. A good thing that steel arrow is in for Kaup. Really gives those archers a little bit of an edge. No steel arrow just yet for Crackedy, but is really using the long range of those longbowmen. Slowly but surely that outpost is coming out. The man-at-arms going to dive on that wood line. And I think if he can garrison some villages, he does. Have 8 villages inside that town centre. A lot of the man-at-arms might just melt to the TC fire. And the archers are like only 1 spearman as a front line. Delhi kind of struggling here. Crackedy diving underneath the town centre, causing all sorts of problems in terms of idle time. Only a handful of man-at-arms though remain. The outpost will go up now, offering that 20% attack speed. Now the trouble is did have that sacred site on the east side, but it is being decapped by a single longbowman. And this is a great work by Crackedy. Not only is he keeping his opponent occupied, but he's keeping him away from that sacred site. Oh, scholar. Not sure where he's off to. Trying to go for the sacred site, but will be sniped. Now behind all this, Kaup will be going to that castle age first with the House of Learning. Now that should be able to get his man-at-arms a little bit more tanky with honed blades and a little bit more aggressive. But the trouble for going up to the castle age, and the reason why Delhi tend to go a little bit earlier if they can, is it does take them time to get the power spike. To get the veterancy upgrades, it takes time. It doesn't cost any resources, which is great, but it takes time. And so that power spike is a little bit delayed compared to the other civilizations if they go for the castle age. But in the meantime, Crackedy is actually going to be focusing on the feudal age for now. No real indication of going to that castle age. We shall see that now that Kaup has got to that castle age, whether Crackedy will decide to maybe redistribute some villages, go elsewhere, get a bit more heavy on gold, and get to the next stage. To be fair, it's not so much gold that is missing. It's actually food, but as you can see, he's actually transitioning onto farms, making use of the cheaper farms for the English. And I like this play because it means that he can freely go forward, right? Like, for many situations and many civilizations, where the opponent's in castle age, you've got 2 options. You can either be aggressive to try and do as much eco damage as possible before your opponent techs up and, you know, gets all the upgrades, which is actually great against Delhi because it takes so long for their veterancy to come in. But the other option is to go back home and to try and get to the castle age yourself. But the good thing is that Crackedy doesn't really have to go home at this point because it just takes so long for the Delhi to get the upgrades. And back at home anyway, he's very well protected. Like, if there's any horsemen, any mobile units coming to attack him, to raid, he's not going to be too far away from his main town centre and security. And so he can venture out. He's got a really good army number here, 36 versus 27, just trying to get some damage if he can. This could be a problem situation here. Quite a few villages on berries, and this is what we talked about, the pocket economies having to be taken by civilizations like the Delhi is super exposed, and if Crackedy spots that, that could spell a lot of trouble. Speaking of trouble, just about to find it here. If Kaup moves eastwards, he doesn't, goes westwards. This could be bad for Kaup, because if Crackedy heads on eastwards, finds those villagers, those are dead villagers. There's no army here to protect those villagers here for Kaup. He went west. Crackedy went east. He's going to scout this out. He spots it, and this is going to be a lot of dead villagers. There's no way he gets out of this with these villagers, more or less. I mean, to be fair, he's got wheelbarrows, so it's pretty fast on his feet, but the longbowman range is just looking so strong, and he's going to lose a lot here. He's already lost 7. Should lose about 8. Oh, wait a minute. Unfortunately, the longbow started to focus on the mill. But the other problem is that the other wood line now being attacked. Both wood lines forward here for the Delhi Sultanate. Not ideal. And yet another villager goes down. 11 so far. There's a 12 villager lead here for Crackedy. And Crackedy behind all of this gets to the castle age. This could be terrible for Kaup. He's just really struggled all the way through this game. And now, because of Crackedy getting to that next stage, these guys are going to become castle age man-at-arms. Only takes a couple of seconds. Bish, bash, bosh. 18 seconds left on the upgrade. And, well, Kaup is going to struggle. One good situation for kaup is that his veterancy of the archers is just about to come in, and he's going to get the blacksmith upgrades too. If he can try and whittle down these numbers of man-at-arms, whilst there still are... As I say that, I was going to say whilst there's still a few late man-at-arms, but we just saw them come in with the upgrade. Makes them a lot tankier. And I think kaup just needs to try and tank as much as he can. Does have his own castle age man-at-arms, only 2 of them though. And if he can get some crossbows, something like that, it would be ideal. A decent number of man-at-arms coming in though for kaup to try and add force to the fight. I think kaup should be able to clear this up. The longbowmen are focusing on the man-at-arms rather than the archers. It does start to focus on the crossbows now. The man-at-arms numbers really starting to struggle here for Crackedyhere. If he loses that front line, the archers or the longbowmen behind will be exposed. Don't forget the archers have the increased movement speed for kaup and also the 20% attack speed bonus for the Delhi Sultanate infantry. And I think that's a big telling difference here because there's no network of castles on the map here where the fight is. And all that army will be lost here for Crackedyhere, down to 17 military units. Now this is an interesting kind of turn of events because now kaup needs to do damage, right? It's his turn to be aggressive. He needs to head out into the map and cause some eco damage. But guess what? The English have a condensed economy. If he gets a couple of palisade walls up, just channels the direction of the fight, he should be fine, Crackedyhere. But this is an element of the game, element in this particular match where Crackedyhere, he just needs to survive and just not take any sort of eco damage. If he can get away with it, then he'll be in good position because his economy is rocking and rolling. Almost, well, he's already 20 villagers or so ahead. 23 villagers. Absolutely insane when you think about it. And the damage that Crackedyhere's done is so immense. He's killed 17 villagers. And what does kaup do behind this? Maybe go for mangonels? I feel like that's the only other option, really. Man-at-arms and mangonels could be an issue for Crackedyhere's ranged army. But, well, he's got man-at-arms of his own. And this is where things become a little bit tricky for the Delhi Sultanate. He may have to try and prolong this game into the mid-castle age. But if he tries to prolong this for the late Imperial Age, again, that's where the English are incredibly strong. This is a bit of a weird choke point. Probably favours Crackedyhere just a little bit. But now the man-at-arms going to push forward. The trouble for kaup is that he needs to do damage, but he just can't get out there. If anything, he's actually trying to secure the sacred sites with these palisades. But yeah, it's given Crackedyhere the time to build up military numbers. He does have 2 of the sacred sites though. So that's a good bit of gold trickle in, but it's not going to be enough to bridge that gap in economy. Alright, capturing the east side sacred site now. Just kind of gathering his thoughts, gathering his bearings here. kaup, but it does have the military lead. The economy deficit. Alright, well, whilst the game kind of is a bit of a lull at the moment, I'm just going to take this opportunity to say that I really appreciate all the support that you guys have been given on the caster game so far. If you enjoyed this one in particular, do give the video a thumbs up, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want more caster games like this, especially when the new DLC comes up. Pretty excited for that. There's a market being rushed out. Oh, this is bad. There's a lot of villagers here for kaup that could be perishing very quickly if the man-at-arms jump on that. I suspect they will. Oh, things are going from bad to worse. He does spot it though, kaup, so we'll have a chance to escape. How many will survive? That is the question. I think really kaup needs a big push. It almost looks like he's going to go for a keep. Maybe another town centre, but villagers on stone, they're getting harassed. He's lost 18 so far. Maybe make that 19 soon. We'll have to see. In any case, he's getting harassed on the wood line. Yeah, this is an issue. His market's being torched down as well, which is just sort of adding insult to injury. Trying to trade that gold in. Now, without a market, he can't. I think he just traded everything he could with the gold. He does have 2. Well, he had 2 sacred sites. Only 1 so far now. He's got 69 military versus 44. Trying to palisade walls up, but as he does this, he loses crucial numbers. And this is not going to be hard for Crackedyhere to break through, right? There's too much to wall up at this point. He does clear up the army that was there fighting back at home. But yeah, the Delhi's really have found it hard to get on across the map and do any sort of damage. Crackedyhere at home, he's chilling. He's getting loads of farms. Nice farming transition, and that's going to be incredibly strong if it gets to the Imperial Age. We have to see if the game even gets that far. He's going to try and get another town centre just to bolster up the number of villagers. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he didn't go for Compound of the Defender, right? So his castles are full price, and he doesn't get the village fortresses upgrade from that landmark. Village fortresses, if you're not aware, is where you can kind of make keeps into town centres. Going to try and get himself back into the game with the 3rd town centre. He's going to have to buy some time. He tried to buy some time with the palisade walls. It's not necessarily a bad idea, but it's a bit tricky going against the English in the super late game. Having said that, the elephants are a very good bang for buck, very population efficient in many ways. Question is whether the game will get that far. About to lose a sacred site on the east side, so a bit of gold trickling won't be coming in. The good thing for the Delhi and Kaup is that he does have 5 relics right now. So if it goes super late game, you know, 5 relics in your bag, it's not too bad, not too shabby. Well, that's definitely not what Kaup would have wanted. He's going to try and chase down the longbow with the villagers. Oh, that's so painful. He's just trying to get that food economy, and you can just see how much he's struggling. Crackedyhere, on the other hand, no such problems. He can just farm away. And it just takes him so long to get over that. Wait a minute. Okay, I think he's just giving up on these villages, it seems. One solitary longbow. He's actually focusing on the mill at this point. But take a look at the number of scholars. That's an insane number. No siege to go with this though for Kaup. No mangonels, unfortunately. Would love to have some, you feel. These longbows benefiting from that network of castles bonus. It's really huge. Going to try and make it through that choke point, but this is not ideal. He's just losing units on the retreat, and he's got a lot of scholars, but not many military numbers, and this is an issue because the longbow is just going to focus on the scholars enough to one-shot for sure, and if the scholar numbers go down, those man-at-arms are going to be left alone, and there's just so many longbows that they could do critical damage to the man-at-arms, even with the wedge rivets upgrades, the ranged defense for those man-at-arms. It's still not enough, and he's losing villagers on the right side again on those berries, losing villagers on the left side with a single longbowman, and this is so problematic. This game highlights to you the importance of protecting your pocket economies. No outposts on those areas to defend those villages, and well, Kaup is being made to pay. He's now looking to get a mangonel with the efficient production upgrade, boosting the getting the scholars to be able to boost the production speed on the siege workshop. But he's going to need more than one mangonel, you feel, because the man-at-arms in good numbers for the English could try and snipe that if they manage to rush in. Even more villagers going down. This is looking terrible. He's lost 29 villagers in this game. Crackedyhere backs away from that mangonel shot, and Crackedy just done such a good job of killing his enemy's villagers. But with this number of scholars, looks like Kaup still has faith. Going to run in. Okay, he's going to use that as a front line, as a meat shield almost, those scholars. Does back off. He's trying to bait Crackedyhere into the mangonel shot, but he's not buying it. In fact, he drops 2 siege workshops of his own. He's going to look to get some springles, no doubt. And if he takes that mangonel out for the Delhi Sultanate, this could be curtains. There are 2 now mangonels, but we'll see if they manage to do any sort of critical damage. Being pushed off the bearers on the east. Still managed to take the deer on the west. That's probably his primary food source. And the big deal for Kaup is he's had to force himself into heavy wood kind of based units because of the lack of food, right? Well, thank God there's no friendly fire on the mangonels, because that would have done a lot of damage. Man-at-arms on the wood line. Couple of longbows on the gold. This is terrible. Kaup is just losing units left, right, and center. Villagers perishing. He's going to try and dive in, and the choke point absolutely massively favoring Crackedyhere, at least for now. Although the mangonels getting good shot. The mangonels can do some big damage if they get some good hits. The question is, oh no, the man-at-arms are going to get around. There's no meat shield. There's no protection on those mangonels. The scholars trying to hold firm, but there's no units for them to heal, more or less. It looks like the scholars fighting off. More or less, it's trying to convert the units almost, but it's obviously not a thing. Another mangonel shot coming in from the Delhi, but it's not enough. And well, whilst he had faith Kaup there, it wasn't enough to win him the game. Crackedyhere wins on Dry Arabia. Hope you guys enjoyed the casted game. Take care, and see you next time.